You're wrong if you think Legends fumbled the first ever Ultra guaranteed banner. In my opinion, it's actually one of the best changes Ultra banners have ever received in the game's history. Hey, Grimmy here, and if you want to know why this Ultra Super Vegito guaranteed banner is the best change Ultra banners have ever received in Dragon Ball Legends history, just keep watching. First off though, I'd like to point out that I am not a TANI GLAZER. I think it's important to note here that I'm going to be defending this banner system, despite the fact that it's something that a lot of people have problems with, which I'm going to highlight later on in the video. But even so, I don't think I'm really playing devil's advocate here, and I actually think that the devs did a good job of managing this particular banner format. I would like to point out that I'm not a Legends GLAZER, I'm not a Toshi GLAZER, and I'm definitely not a TANI GLAZER, and I'm fairly certain that I'm not a Bandai cuck. I'm willing to critique the game on parts where it deserves criticism, on parts where the devs may seem greedy, or downright predatory in the way they design various mechanics in the game, especially Ultra Rising banners as they've been in the past. And so for this video, I'd like to keep that same unbiased energy. I'd like to make sure that the points that I bring up are objective and they actually make sense, because I'm not doing this for the sake of defending the game, and more so for bolstering the expectations of the community, because I think it's set a little too high. Even so, I still think that the qualms that the community has with this particular system is entirely deserved. Why thinking this way isn't wrong at all. For one, I think the banner system itself is honestly quite expensive. It was never even teased that we were ever going to get an Ultra Guarantee banner, and so in many cases, people actually chose to not save. They would rather honestly summon on Ultra Goku's banner or Ultra Full Power Frieza's banner, because they are probably like the most high-value Ultras right now. Even Vegito with his Platinum equipment isn't necessarily stronger than them. But a banner that guarantees an Ultra, this is the first ever in the game. And they only dropped this on a surprise release, a surprise reveal that never had anything teasing it, or the possible cost of it. I think with them kind of going into the after-party reveals and saying that the banner was going to guarantee Super Vegito, I think a lot of the members of the community thought that this banner was going to be cheap and super accessible to everyone, before they finally got hit with the cold water and realized that this banner actually requires you to pay 7,000 Chrono Crystals before you can actually get the guaranteed character. This is generally the biggest problem that a lot of people have, and it's hard to blame them, because again, there wasn't really any kind of information indicating the fact that we were ever going to get something like this. This is on a completely new level, and the rewards here are unquestionable. That's why people are so mad that they can't actually enjoy these rewards, because the barrier to entry is so high. But even so, I think it's my turn to step up and tell you why I think this is probably going to be the best change Ultra banners have ever received. For starters, this is the first ever banner format that actually guarantees an Ultra. We haven't seen it since the release of Ultra Super Vegito back in Legends Festival 2021. Back then, people didn't really have a lot of problems with the Ultra Rising banner specifically. I think for a character like Super Vegito, right? He was still the first ever summonable Ultra, and his Ultra Rising banner was also the first ever, so whether you got lucky or shafted on his banner, it was hard to kind of measure that. How would you compare that to basically any other summoning experience, because it was still the first of its kind back then. But since then, since the release of Super Vegito, and with the various releases of future Ultras moving forward since then, the game has continued to come back like a revolving door and kept the same format for years. Up until today, even with Goku and Frieza, the banner format remains the same. No pity system, horrible step rewards, among many other things that I discussed in a different video. And this particular thing holding back Ultra Rising banners is a huge problem, especially because it doesn't actually guarantee any Ultra right now. But with the Ultra Guaranteed banners, which is what I'll be calling it for this video moving forward, this banner format actually guarantees an Ultra. Where in an Ultra Rising banner's case, you could go in with 50,000, 60,000, sometimes 80,000 Chrono Crystals and not pull a damn thing, other than maybe a naked mole rat. This banner actually only requires you to use up 7,000 Chrono Crystals to get a unit, and sure, the character isn't necessarily as meta viable as Goku or Vegeta, or Frieza, sorry. But I'd say that he's certainly competitive, because the way the Platinum equipment of the character is designed is actually good enough to move them back into the meta. And so for the people who say that this is a banner that's horribly designed, that is effectively a scam, that is a sign of the game's greed, I'd say that while yes, they do have a point, especially with them not announcing it, I think there's a lot of long-term value here. if you really think about it, Vegito here isn't necessarily made to kind of please us in the now, but he's a bar that's set by the devs for us to look forward to moving forward. I said forward twice there, which isn't a really effective sentence, but I hope you get the idea. I think this banner format is not going to be just for the 7th anniversary. I think it'll be there for the 8th anniversary, maybe even for this year's Legends Festival, even if that may be a little too optimistic. A lot of people were really hoping to see ULTRA Gogeta Blue get his platinum equipment, and seeing him not actually get a platinum equipment definitely left a few people disappointed. Still, people were excited to see Super Vegito, because he was also a character in desperate need of a platinum equipment. So, I think I can say with a fair amount of confidence that ULTRA Gogeta Blue is going to be the next Ultra to get a platinum equipment for Legends Festival 2025 specifically. And I think there is good, optimistic reason to believe that we may actually see this banner format for Super Vegito again, but this time for Legends Festival 2025, specifically for Gogeta Blue, who would by that point recently get his platinum equipment. And by then, we would already know that we need to save exactly 7,000 Chrono Crystals. This means that free-to-play players now, moving forward, need to save at least 7,000 Chrono Crystals and keep that in the bank for as long as possible, to hold on to that until a banner like this pops up where they can just spend it all, and guarantee themselves a meta-viable, at least fairly competitive, Ultra unit, which is far better than not having any meta unit whatsoever, in my opinion. And to address the complaint that a lot of people have about these steps being so expensive, sure, again, I think that the biggest flaw here is the fact that the devs don't really clarify as to the cost of the particular banner since the reveal, even since before the after-party reveal, and alluded to the fact that we may actually get an Ultra guaranteed banner that would be at least a little bit expensive, so people should think about saving up. Obviously, this is a gacha game. The devs are not going to kind of spill the beans and tell people how to manage their money properly. They make a profit off of people making stupid decisions, misguided decisions. But what this means is that we can set up an expectation. We know now that, well, we're going to get a banner like this in the future. Either it's for the next anniversary or it's going to be for Legends Festival 2025. If the devs, say for example, made it easy to acquire now with Super Vegito's Ultra Guaranteed banner, let's say that it actually costs 3,000 Chrono Crystals instead, so 1,000 for each step, and then at the third step you can actually just get Super Vegito easily. Does that mean that everyone gets Ultra Super Vegito for free? Sure. I think as a one-off that would have been probably the best situation in a perfect world. But you have to take note to the fact that they can't keep doing that over and over again. It'll ruin the game's economy, especially if the character is actually good with their platinum equipment. Bear in mind, a platinum equipment is something that you can get very easily and comes pre-packaged with the best possible stats. And I think it's setting the bar a little too high if you're hoping to get a free Ultra, a free competitive Ultra, highly competitive Ultra for only 3,000 Chrono Crystals twice every single year. With Vegito being given the price tag of 7,000 Chrono Crystals here, it's reasonable to expect that the next time a banner format like this comes around for a different Ultra unit, it's going to cost 7,000 Chrono Crystals as well. And listen, the moment they drop, say for example, again, Ultra Gogeta Blue's Ultra Guaranteed banner, and they increase the cost like 10,000, I'm making a video bashing the devs, 100%, man. You can count on that. But I feel like Vegito here, the way they kind of designed his banner is sort of like, it's designed to almost be kind of like a starting point, where moving forward, this is going to be the format that we're always going to be working with, and if anything, this is just positive for our preparation. This means that, again, free-to-play players who'd like to own a highly competitive Ultra can just save 7,000 Chrono Crystals and be done with it. They can quit the game if PvP gets too toxic, and they can come back once a similar banner actually pops up. Say again, for example, Ultra Gogeta Blue's banner. I'm not saying that's guaranteed, guys. If that doesn't happen, I'm also going to be complaining on a different video. But if it does, then that means that everyone who actually saved up 7,000 Chrono Crystals will be able to get Ultra Gogeta Blue with his platinum equipment entirely guaranteed, with no additional strings attached other than actually spending 7,000 Chrono Crystals. And more importantly, I think it's important to note that I've been like a very big hater of Ultra Rising banners for a while now, and I've made like tons of videos discussing this particular topic. So when I see something like this, which is effectively a step in the right direction, I'm moved enough to kind of appreciate it, because this is a lot better than the devs not actually dropping a banner like this. right? If the devs were as greedy as a lot of people would make them appear to be, they'd just give us this banner and be done with it, right? Maybe even make the Ultra rates triple for the second step, just like what they did with Frieza's banner. But they didn't. They went the extra mile to actually give us a banner that guarantees a Super Vegito for under 10,000 Chrono Crystals, 7,000 more specifically. And yeah, I think it's fair to point out the fact that there are barely any events going on right now, which means that there's basically no way of actually farming any Chrono Crystals if you want to try and get this banner while you have barely any Chrono Crystals left, because again, this was not telegraphed in any way. We did not see this coming. A lot of people chose to spend on these Ultra Rising banners and ultimately got shafted at the end of the day, when I feel like they could gotten away with a guaranteed character who actually had a lot of meta staying power. And to recap, the Ultra Guaranteed banner, first ever that we've seen for a character like Super Vegito, is the best banner format for Ultras we've ever seen in the game's history. While it's certainly deserving of its complaints across the community, it not being informed beforehand, there being no actual information alluding to it, and for it to essentially be obscured how many Chrono Crystals it would require to pull the guaranteed unit, and for no events to actually be existing in the game to make it possible for players to farm up Chrono Crystals to actually summon on the banner and get to the final step, this is arguably the best step that the devs could have taken when it comes to actually improving the way we summon for Ultras. Not only does it guarantee an Ultra with a very minimal amount of Chrono Crystals required, it sets the bar for the future, and that means that we're going to get a banner like this someday in the future as well, giving us opportunities to actually prepare beforehand ahead of time, which means that by then we'd actually have 7,000 Chrono Crystals prepared for the next meta unit who will arguably be better than Super Vegito. But what do you think about this banner format? Let me know in the comment section down below. If there were actually some complaints that you have on these banners that I didn't even bother to mention in this video, let me know in the comments, and if you agree with my take, I hope you can leave that in the comments as well. If you want to check out my video and go a little bit more in-depth into why Ultra Rising banners are still the worst when it comes to design, and why this is such a significant improvement, by comparison, you can check that video out because that'll make this video make a lot more sense. And if you want to see how accurate my 7th anniversary after party predictions were, you can check the video on your right. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video. Bye, thanks for watching, never stay perfect, always get better, peace.